Hi, this is Shane Starr, and in between my reading of my favorite Russian novel and my notes and enjoying a nice lunch on a Saturday afternoon, I'm going to do a fun little video about apartment complex business and an ultimate fantasy team made up of each of the 16 types. So, my business is property management, real estate, basically running a large apartment complex. And that has its benefits and challenges. So, we do everything from helping with the leasing process to having people renew their leases to helping with problems such as problems with the apartment, stuffed up sink, or remotes aren't working or something like that, versus other things like renting amenities like our clubhouse, or at night courtesy patrol. There's an element of social media and keeping up with that. Then there's management positions, there's service positions, there's assistant manager, CEO, owner type stuff. And my thoughts on that might surprise some of you. But anyway, what's a challenge in these types of videos is thinking, first of all, there are positions that can be done by more than one type, and some by more than others. Whereas something like legal officer might be more limited in scope with regards to how many different types generally can do that. Other things like, say, a maintenance technician, there are several types that might be really good at that. So this isn't going to be an exclusive list. This is based on a few things. Number one, my experience in the industry. Number two, my experience with MBTI types, meaning my personal experience, not just out of nowhere, but or out of books or something, but just my own experiences with each of the 16 types. And last but not least, some surprises. I'm not going to go with the just plain stereotypical, starting at the top with CEO. No, it's not ENTJ, in spite of what most people would imagine. And yeah, so I have some people in interesting positions, and this is based on one of two factors for those of you more interested in the inner workings of MBTI and or socionic systems. And that is, I take a closer look at the tertiary function than many or most typologists. I think there's a lot of magic to be had in that third slot function. And also what's called the demonstrative function, which is the eighth function. It's the opposite of your second function. So, the creative function, what you have in the second spot, that's inverse that, either extrovert or introverted, make it the opposite of your second function, but the same general thinking, intuition, feeling, or sensing. And you'll have that demonstrative function. Those are the two sort of secret power functions, I think, inherent in each of the 16 types. So without further delay, let's start at the top. So for the owner of the complex, while again, any type can do any of these, I'm thinking what can these surprisingly do and do well. For the owner of the complex, I put ENFJ, not ENTJ, but ENFJ in the owner. And I think this is because, ENFJs have third slot extrovert sensing, so they can be powerful and forceful when they need to be. But generally, they're people. They like people. They do have a vision with that second slot NI. They're very outgoing. They're just nice people. And even though they have thinking in fourth slot, I've always found ENFJs to be really smart. Just common sense, smart people. I've even known some INTPs that aren't that smart, and that's like the brainiac type, right? ENFJs, I don't know any personally that are, that don't have common sense. Now, they might have their quirky things about them that don't seem to make a lot of sense, but in the working world, they're usually quite good, and they know how to smooth things over. They know when to follow the rules. They know when to bend them. They even know when to break them. They get along with people from different, economic places, different cultures, different personality types. ENFJs are a good type to have at that very top. They'll let the people under them be the bad guys. All right, next, property manager. Now, you could flip these around, have ENTJ be at the top and ENFJ be the property manager, but property management takes a lot of, you have to do a lot of different things. You have to work with people, you have to work with numbers, you have to work with systems, you have to work with logistical issues. And property management, for the manager, his or herself, I think ENTJ is a good fit for this one because of they have that. They can be people focused when they have to, but they're going to be more concerned about the vision of the property, what's running well, what's not. The owner's going to be a little more hands off. That's the ENFJ. They'll let things kind of, they'll let their team take care of the day-to-day stuff. And ENTJs are good at delegating too. They're not going to get too wrapped up in the details. They're master delegators themselves, but they can handle almost anything that comes at them. The person at the very, very top won't have to handle everything. They just handle the main things. The property manager has to be able to be the voice and the authority on site. And that means they have to work with people, they have to work with things, they have to work with problems, they have to work with systems, and ENTJs are well suited to that. And let's face it, they like to be in charge, and that's the face of the property, the in charge person. Moving on, assistant manager, and this is where I couldn't get away from the stereotypes. I think ESTJs make the perfect middle management, assistant manager types. They play by the rules, they're by the book, they have third slot NE, so they are open to different ways of doing things so long as it doesn't contradict anything important in the business. They are just perfect administrators. They'll get the job done. If they don't do it themselves, they'll find someone else who will. And they are, the ENTJ will keep the property, running in the right direction, and the ESTJ will be the one behind the wheel actually making it work at the ground level. So I think they fit perfectly there. Next, information technology. This is someone who will help when the computer systems aren't working or they freeze or there's a problem. And I can't think of any better type here than INTP. I think ENTPs could do this too, but INTPs would be really good at this job. INTP, IT technicians, they're usually NTP types, and more often than not, you're going to be working alone more than with people, and I think it's a perfect role for my INTP fantasy team member to take on. Fixing systematic problems, finding workarounds when need be, and keeping those things running at a high level. Next up, legal officer. Now there's different people who could do this, but this is where I have the INTJ. And the reason being is the legal officer in some ways is they're almost, they're secretly at the very top of the list, but they're sort of behind the scenes. You know, they're not the face of the property like the CEO or the property manager or even the assistant manager, but they're sort of like, if they were in the army, they'd be the sniper. You know, they're part of the team, but they're kind of off to the side in their own realm, in their own world, with their own rules, running things the way they want them run. And INTJ, that's the perfect role for that. You know, they're organized, they're driven, they have a vision, and they have their own system, not necessarily managed by other protocols in the complex. They're off to the side. They make their own or have their own protocols. And so I think INTJ, given their own penchant for leadership and independence, I'll say more so than leadership, but INTJ for chief legal officer or lawyer, that's the perfect match for them. Maintenance manager, this might be a surprising one. This is the person in charge of the maintenance technicians, the person who has to, you know, do the budget, find workarounds when existing parts don't quite fit, or know when to replace something versus when to repair it. And this is where I put our ENTPs. I think that their creativity, brilliance, and ingenuity makes it perfect for this role, because, you know, when maintenance techs run up against a wall and they can't figure out, hey, you know, this needs this wire, but we don't have any of these wires, a top maintenance manager could say, hey, we have similar wires that we work in, say our washers and dryers. Take one of those out of the ones we're not using and use that for this you know, AC unit, and it should work. Just clip the end and put the new attachment on, and it'll, you know, that kind of stuff I think ENTPs are really good at. And even though you know, this is a 9 to 5, 9 to 6 job, for maintenance it's 8 to 5. I think being in the role of a maintenance manager, you have enough variety to keep you interested, and it has enough structure to keep you grounded. So ENTP for maintenance manager. Next, we have 2 leasing agents. Leasing agent 1 and leasing agent 2. Now, I was originally going to put ESTPs in this spot, but I switched them out for something else. I would have an ESFP and an ENFP for my leasing agents, and here's why. Leasing is more about personality than it is what you're selling, actually, even when it comes to leasing apartments. And that second slot FI will be really good for making one-on-one determinations, you know, relationships, building rapport. You don't want to catch these types on a bad day, especially the ENFP, because their ups and downs are really high and low. ESFPs are a little more grounded, but they have a little bit of that too. Just that high bouncy energy that makes good real estate agents and good leasing agents. You know, I've been a leasing agent, but I lack that bubbly, high-pitched voice, you know, excitability level. And these guys have it. They're really good at getting others to buy in. I wouldn't say necessarily an FE way. I think an ESFJ can be a good leasing agent too, but I put them in a different spot, and you'll see why later. But ESFPs will be really grounded, have all the specs, everything needed to sell the apartment to the prospect, and it'll be coming from a feeling foundation rather than a straight numbers game, you know, like some other types might be. ENFPs, on the other hand, they'll find creative points of rapport with, you know, with with different residents, or prospective residents rather. It'll be like, oh, I see you're wearing you have a Gucci bag, I have one of those too. And they just find that creative way to build rapport. And I think that's the kind of energy you want in your leasing office, is the type that no types better than these two bring to the table. Okay, next, your resident relations representatives. And this might surprise you, but I think I have the perfect two people for this. A resident relations representative, that's what I do. And you have to do a little bit of everything. Like if we were a soccer team, you would be the center fielder. So you have to play offense, you have to play defense, you have to sell, you have to problem solve. We have to know numbers. We have to, sell when it comes to renewals. We have to help people with work orders. We have to build rapport, but at the same time, we have to respect rules and regulations too. Leasing agents have a little bit more freedom in that realm. We don't get to negotiate as much. We have to build the bridge between the hard facts and truth and people's feelings about those facts. And sometimes that's a bigger stretch than others. But the two types I have for this are ISTJ, probably no surprise there for those of you who know me, and ISFJ, both introverted sensing types. This is where you want to build security, comfort, reliability, maintenance. These are words that come to mind, and it's a way, and what one is missing in terms of extroverted feeling, the other brings to the table an introverted feeling, where one might not have that introverted logic, the other one comes with the extroverted logic. So together, these two types cover all the bases when it comes to resident relations representatives. They can solve problems. They can sell when they have to, in short bursts. They can help. They can be good listeners. They're the dutiful diplomats. These are the people, and I know because I'm one of them, these are the people who will do all the dirty jobs that no one else wants to do. We'll come in on our day off if someone else called out. We'll do the lethargic, boring paperwork that other people aren't willing to do. We will go back and re-input data if it was lost by one of our systems. We can, sell a renewal 1 minute, get keys for a lockout the next, and then listen to someone tell us about their problems on the next moment. So this is a sort of do-it-all type, the Iron Man of the industry, the kind of heart, the person who does a little bit of all, jack of all trades, you could say. All right, moving on. We need 2 maintenance techs, and this might surprise you. For these, I put ISTPs and ESTPs here. And this is because maintenance has to be, at top physical levels, especially here in Southern California where it's hot and uncomfortable outside. You need someone who can operate in those kinds of conditions. You need people who are smart, and both these people have high TI, so that's good. You need people to be able to work around issues and find creative solutions with the materials they have at hand, because not all the time will you have everything you need to do a job, so you have to find a way to do it without the parts you need. Both these types follow rules to an extent, but they'll ignore the rules when they have to. Now, this can get you into serious problems with resident relations or even in sales, promising, misquoting to get the sale and then having to double back down later with a higher price. Those kind of things can be liabilities. But with regards to maintenance issues, pragmatism rules, and I think ISTPs and ESTPs are really good at finding different ways to get a job done, and the ability to work hard and long under less than perfect conditions, like out in the hot sun on a roof or something. you can't, there's a lot of types, and I won't mention them by name, but there are a lot of types that can't do that. There are a lot of types who can do that in short bursts, but not long. That's how I would describe myself. These guys can do it day in and day out. Being a maintenance tech allows them a little bit of freedom and independence away from the office, where they can sneak breaks and do things that you can't really get away with in the office. So they can break up their day in creative ways and then work hard in spurts when they need to. I think maintenance tech's a great job for ISTPs and ESTPs. Okay, we're winding down here. Social media officer. This is Instagram, Facebook, and here we have it, ESFJ. I think ESFJs could do many jobs in an apartment complex, but they're great at social media. I mean, what type would be any better? They put your apartment community in the public eye. They represent it well. They do, they can do all those kinds of things. They're the great representative to the public for your apartments, and that's where I would put them. Doing resident events as well, being a great host, and alongside them, for doing the more just online, less personal stuff, I would put our INFJ. So these two would be a team with social media and resident events. You have your ESFJ to really work the people, the actual, in-person things, hosting events, doing the live online activities. And then you have the INFJ putting it all together to create this vision of the property that the manager wants. So the INFJ would be the one actually doing the posts of the ESFJ in action. So those two would work together in those two realms, social media and resident events. Okay, last but not least, security, or better known as courtesy patrol officers. We'd have two of those, and that's where I would put our INFP and ISFP. Why would I put those in security and not some ISTP or ISTJ or something? That is because courtesy patrol is, there's way more public relations in this role than one would think, firsthand. This isn't, dealing with crime as much as it is dealing with unhappy residents who are unhappy with one another. And so you need people with high FI, people who can, relate on a personal level to what others are going through. And I would also say, yes, this can be a mindless job, just patrolling the area. That's because INFPs and ISFPs, they aren't your regular 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, job workers anyway. And when they are, they always have something off on the side. It's like, yeah, I work at these apartments, but I'm really an actor or actress, or yeah, I play the guitar or something in a band, and that's my real passion, but I do this to pay bills. You don't want someone like that in a different role, because it'll take away from the role they're serving for the apartment community. But in courtesy patrol, that comes at night, so they could do their hobby during the day, except for concert nights or party nights or whatever it is their side gig is. And being not completely mindless, but mindless compared to some of these other roles, that gives them more time on the job to pay attention to the thing that they're truly passionate about. In between incidents, they can practice song lyrics or poetry writing or whatever other artistic thing is that they have planned or that they like to do on the side. None of these other positions offer as much luxury and time on the clock to, devote to your other passion, as long as you're not doing it when the property needs you. So that pretty much wraps it up, all 16 types. Again, I want to close by saying every type can do every one of these jobs. There's exceptions found everywhere, but in my business and in my experiences of both the business and the types, these are where I would put my fantasy players. And although some of the choices were tough, if I didn't put them in the slots I did, it would have left bigger vacuums in the remaining slots. So fitting the 16 types together, this is how it came out for me. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Have a good one. I'm out.